Hello, hello! What is going on, YouTube friends? I am Phoenix61, your host tonight for this World of Warships Legends game. I actually have another double header for you because this Baltimore game ended up being, kind of short. You know, whatever. I do take a little bit of an aggressive approach in this game, which, of course, does not always work, especially for cruisers, right? But in all cruiser fashion and in defense of cruiser play style, right, I am headed towards some land, right? So like we go right in towards where the A cap is, basically the nearest island here, right? Like so it's not all YOLO, right? Like you do run the risk of the guys spawning over across by B, like i.e. this monarch here, spotting you, and then basically battleships, on the opposite end of us, spotting you a little early on, and taking shots at you before you get in there. So this is why we're not firing our guns right now, so that those battleships off to my left over here don't see us. But now, of course, we do get spotted, so there's no sense in not opening up the guns, right? And I was like mad at myself because I just shot HE at a broadside cruiser. But so I didn't realize I had HE loaded, so yep, that's my bad. So we do switch, and then of course we're taking a shot at Colorado, which we're not going to get as much out of, but whatever. It is what it is, right? So we'll go in and help with the A cap. It looks like it's still getting capped, so that smoke screen that's out there, I know there's a destroyer there, and I should have waited just a little bit longer for the radar here, because we don't quite pick him up, so I should have known he wasn't in the zone. But yeah, so here's the Charles Martel, and I think there's a destroyer in there too from all this, based on all this smoke, right? But we do get an awesome hit on the Charles Martel here. And then we've got it in full reverse. Yeah, so it does kind of spook him out of the, gets him to start moving. And then, yeah, there's the Summer CE. And of course, my radar is running out right as we spot him. So that's why I wish I had waited just a little bit longer, because I knew they weren't quite close enough for me to pick them up right when I should have known anyway, they weren't quite close enough for me to pick them up right as I tripped it, right? So we would have had a little bit more time with the radar, but he does start firing his gun, so that's on him now that he's getting spotted over there. So we'll make the switch to HE shells. We do get the capture, so we don't need to be in the zone anymore. I do think that, like, in the event that the enemy team is kind of doing the same thing or rushing in, as like if they do any sort of push on this side, I probably would have been screwed, and this game would have been, at least I would have been out of the game fairly early on, right? But and then the other thing too with the radar, that does kind of spook, especially destroyer players. Even if you can't hit them, sometimes that's going to make them retreat just because they know they're getting picked up by that radar, right? So we're probably annoying our cruiser buddy here, but yeah. So it's just based on the mini-map and where the enemies are positioned, we can kind of hang out here, and that's kind of we'll do it as long as it works out for us, right? So we can move forward and backwards, and then aim around this kind of corner here, this over these little islands or whatever you want to call this thing, and try and be able to pick on one target at a time, right? So like we can back, if we're getting too much fire, we can back up, right? Here come the torpedoes from the destroyers that went out wide, right? Or at least the one. And then I'm like, a decent shot on this Baltimore here, but I'm like trying so hard to finish off the Charles Martel. And then of course the sliver that he had left somehow divided in half and became a smaller sliver. So we'll hold off putting out the fire just because we know there's destroyers. The torpedoes did just go by, but yeah. So we take another shot at Charles Martel. Like the shot on this Baltimore that's in front of me is so much better, and I'm just so like I want to like get the guns off the map, like get the player off the board, and then you don't have to worry about them ever again, right? But it just like wasn't going our way trying to get the ranged shot on him. But so we got HE loaded. I'm thinking, if we can at least dump the shells on top, they'll take care of it and or put a fire on him. And swing and a miss. Like, come on. One of these has to make it. But yeah, as you can see, we can now back up to kind of minimize our threat from the this Monarch and the Baltimore that are out there, right? These guys can't shoot us now. Of course, I have now gone too far back, and now I can't shoot them either. But so at least this way you can kind of manage and turn it into at least a one-on-one situation versus multiple ships being able to shoot you at the same time, right? So we'll take the shots over top of the little hills here. I know we're not going to get much out of it, but at least we're getting the defend ribbon when we do hit. And then, yeah, we trigger the radar again here because we know that those destroyers are going to continue to pick on us, right? So we're going to scare him off again, probably. And then I'm backing up because we know since there's a destroyer, it's going to be torpedoes, right? But I'm backing up too because then that allows me to focus on that destroyer and not have to worry about the Monarch just destroying us broadside, right? So, but now we can't see him anymore, so we'll move forward again. But yeah, you can kind of see how we manage this, the land here to be able to, minimize the amount of enemies that can shoot at us while, trying to figure out what works best for us to shoot at, right?
The ship is on fire.
We got to get rid of this we got to get rid of this Monarch, and probably that Charles Martel's still alive out there. Come on, dude. Give this to us. And then once we get rid of these guys, we can go, then the game is ours, right? Because we're a cruiser with radar and sonar, we can go and hunt these destroyers down, right? The only reason I can't press in is because of this Monarch. Because if I were to go out there, he would waste us, right? We're close enough for pretty much any battleship's secondaries, but then, main, he's going to shoot AP shells into our side, and that's going to be the end of us, right? So we're keeping it pointed towards him. Our allies are helping get rid of him, which is going to be great. Thank you, Anult. And then we did the smart thing and triggered the sonar because we knew those destroyers were still there, right? Oh, you'd almost alternate, right? All right, if I can use the radar, pick up the destroyers, shoot them when we spot them, and then sonar for when we suspect, they've got torpedoes on the way, right? So that worked out a little bit better for us too. But now we can go, now that the battleship's dead, right? Now that the Monarch's gone, we can go destroyer hunting, right? We can press really, really hard into this. Oh, now the black is spotted again too. So he's got a little bit of capture, so I was like, oh, I'll shoot him, but the destroyer that's picking him up got those hits on him, right? But we'll help out. It's kind of like, well, he's a little bit closer, it might be easier to get hits on. And then we've got, if we need it, if these guys don't go down, if we need it, we've got 40 seconds left on our radar here, too. That we'll be able to trigger yet one more time, right? So this is why I use fully packed, because I love the consumables, right? So, as we've used all our heals already, and then if the Summers hadn't gone down, I'd be using the, we're gonna hit him, yep. I say it before it even happens, because I just know the shot was good, right? But, so we, if he hadn't gone down, we'd still have that extra radar charge. That wouldn't have existed if we don't use fully packed. So that's why, my personal preference is to use, top of the leaderboard here, 2,500 XP. That's decent, right? 200 credits. But, yeah, so they lost all their points, so that's why the game ended early, right? And then that kind of limits how much XP and stuff you can do in the game, right? So we're using Norman Scott. You can see up in the top right there. This Mary East River is, of course, just a commander, guys. But yeah, incoming damage to Citadel. I like me, a little bit of a defensive mixed build for cruisers, just since it's so easy to go down, right? But for the most part, for my American ones, we're doing a little bit more AP focus and range and accuracy, right? So we've got, yeah. So that's how we have that. But yeah, so but if you do it, so here we were using fully packed, right? So I do that for most of my cruiser commanders, right? But I feel, it's dependent on playstyle what you pick for, everything really. But in this example with the fully packed, you get those extra consumables. But if you find yourself not going through them all, very routinely, it probably makes more sense to pick something else, right? So just based on the ship or like what you're doing, how you play, you know, all that other stuff. Just if you notice yourself not going through them all, it makes sense to pick one of the other things because you'll get more out of it, right? So, we do have I think, what is it, a Myoko? I got another game up here too that because we had a short game with the Baltimore here, so I'm calling it a doubleheader, right? So, stay tuned. Don't like or subscribe yet because you don't know. The video's almost only halfway over, right? But yeah, that was a good Baltimore game, quickie to share, so to speak, right? And then up next, I think we have Myoko. I don't remember. It's definitely a Japanese cruiser. We'll see here. So yeah, Tears of the Desert. You always gotta say it, funny. Yeah, Myoko. So I think I was probably working through. And I probably have it by now, but we'll see. By the time this post, because I'm getting close. I was getting close by the time I did this video for the ZOW. So I was working through the Bureau project for the ZOW. So once we get that ship, I'll try and put out a video or two on it, just because that'll be somewhat new. I know some people got early access, test access to it or whatever. So that there are videos out there of that ship, but we'll have it forever in the real world, right? So yeah. So Myoko. So for a spawn point, it doesn't get any better than this this spot over here by A, because you got you can. I like to be able to move in a little bit before I turn and run away. But with the way these Japanese cruisers are kind of laid out. And their I feel like their armor scheme too. I'm not an armor scheme person. I don't go in and evaluate everything. But basically, I'm finding more success with this kind of being angled away, pointed away from the enemy, and shooting back at them, right? So and then the torpedo angle that you can fire too is out the side and back behind you too. So I'm finding this defensive angle with these Japanese cruisers is what works best. At least for me, right? So, and then we do for the most part on my Japanese cruisers, we're doing fire, HE builds. So you'll see me using HE shells most of the time. So very different from how I play with the American cruisers that we just did with the Baltimore, right? So yeah, I've got more of a range, accuracy, HE, spammy kind of build with these. And then, so we're backing up here just to try and get out of line of sight of the Georgia, and that works, so we go unspotted. And then, yet we can still lob bullets over the corner here of this little chunk of land. And then we triggered that fire on him, and so I'm trying to get another one triggered here before he, gets out of range or runs away or goes, goes dark. Because then it's going to burn, right? And there it is. So that one will get damage ticking up for, probably a good 30 seconds to a minute or so, however long his damage control cooldown is, right? I mean, it always doesn't hurt to try and do another fire, right? But yeah, so he's getting out of range. I think we got torpedoes reloaded in the back here, and we can see some bullets coming from that direction. We might be just out of range there, but these are a good 10 kilometer, I think, with the Myoko. And then we'll see if we can't get out in front of these torpedoes that are on the way here. Okay, while we take some shots at this hood and try and fire spam him. There we go, 2 fires. And Georgia's still on fire. It looks like he's got 2 on him. I wonder if somebody else lit him up too. And then, yeah, this next salvo, if we shoot here, he's going to pick us up, which is fine. We've got a decent angle, and we can start moving away from him if he does decide to pick on us, right? But I'm going to back up just a little bit here. Yeah, so his fires are out on him. I'm kind of can I back up far enough to get out of line of sight? But then I'm thinking the bullets are not gonna make it around I'm too close to this land here. front guns probably make it around here. And then if he's gonna go, man, like that is the long way around, dude. Like, look at how far out that Georgia is. Like, granted, now I do, on my Georgia I do have a range and accuracy built into it, but he's really taken himself out of the battle here by going way, way away from these objectives, right? Like, you need to, like, I get it, if you're building, you know, a range and accuracy build, you know, you can maybe fire at some enemies, but you still gotta be able to support the objectives, right? So this is partly why we have the A cap, even though there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ships over here, so like half their team is on our side, and we still managed to get the cap. Like, and it's because there's a cruiser and a battleship that went way far away from it. So we'll take advantage of this hood coming through the zone here. Hopefully we can get some torps on him. Come on, Flood. Yes. So he used damage control to put out the flood. Or stop the flood. Duct tape the flood. Whatever you want to, you know, put out. Doesn't make sense, so. So hopefully this next... somebody else is going to kill him here. But I was going to say, if this next salvo gets him, we could potentially flood him, and then he'd be screwed, right? Oh, we did get him. Just the torpedo itself was enough damage to finish him. That is a destroyer. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. That destroyed him. But we're going to see if we can't get hits on him. He could potentially be sneaking around that corner there to go after our battleship, right? But we got another fire. Did we get fire on him before? Yeah, it looks like we might have him burning. It'd be awesome if we get this kill. And then yeah, look, that Georgia, that battleship and cruiser, still unspotted up in the corner. I mean, they were probably spotted for a few seconds up there, but like this is legit. Like, because of them. Oh, there he is. Oh man, he's still got health left. Oh, he's still on fire. Yeah, he's like sneaking around there, and he's gonna probably pick on our battleship there. If that's one of those Soviet cruisers, I think they got. Oh yeah, the battleship got him. Nice. They got a lot of them. The torpedo range is kind of crap. So you're almost, if you want to torpedo somebody, you're almost forced to, you know, manipulate land, like, you know, sneak around islands and just show up out of nowhere. But yeah, so like these are the only 2 guys left. They could have been helping out their team this whole time, and now like we're kicking their butt so bad that they're in a position where we have to chase them down to finish this game. So we'll shoot the Rochester first, just because he's the closest, or he's the first one to come in range, right? But ideally, I'll try and trigger fires on both of them, because that's kind of the play style we have for this ship, right? If our battleship out there doesn't take them both out. One thing with some of these Japanese cruisers is the turret traverse speed. You can see it's not we're firing at these guys pretty far away, and the turrets still can't quite keep up with the turning of the boat here when we're turning full on rudder, right? But I just wanted to get angled a little bit away in case he does decide to shoot at us. But then, of course, now he's done. Yeah. So we'll see. So that's a good example of when your teammates help you out, right? When you have a good team, things go like that. Not quite the top. 10 points somebody beat me by on the leaderboard there for XP. But yeah, I think I was working through Bureau project. Yeah, so we got 100k for Bureau I'm sure that was the Zal. But yeah, so we are using Yamamoto. I gotta be saying that somewhat right? For the commander here. But Mr. Scrooge is, of course, the Commander Geist, which was, I think, last year's Christmas, right? Not even this most recent year, but shell grouping for inspirations, along with HE shell damage, right? Is there somebody with fire chance? Like, that would probably be better there, but we get fire chance here, right, on the commander himself. And then I don't use punch through just because it's AP shell focused. So I pick one of the defensive perks, right? You could do either or. But like, that's not to say like you shouldn't use AP shells here with this build. Like if you got a good broadside shot on somebody, like you can absolutely, like, I still switch occasionally when it's a good shot, when it makes sense, right? And then of course I'm using fully packed like we kind of discussed before. That is our video for today. That is the Baltimore and the Myoko, right? So good games. GG me, right? Haha. Now is the time, if you actually did enjoy the video, to push the like button. But make sure to subscribe to the channel. That helps me out quite a bit to have more subscribers. And I am doing World of Warships Legends videos every single day, so that way you can see tomorrow's. See you then.